My question is, if someone asks me, who is the creator of God, is it permissible for me to answer or remain silent? Because the messenger of God said in a hadith, Satan creates questions in your mind until he says, who created God? And at that time, you should seek refuge in Allah from evil of Satan. Depending upon your ability and your knowledge. For a general Muslim who may not be well versed with replying to atheists or replying to non-Muslims and answering such questions, best is he should remain silent. He should, follow the hadith which says that, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, recite and say you seek refuge in Allah from Satan the accursed, because he's not well versed. But at the same time, Allah says in the Quran, in Surah Nahl chapter 16 verse 43, and Surah Anbiya chapter number 21 verse number 7, فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلِ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. If you don't know, ask the person who's knowledgeable. So if you're a da'i, or if you're a student of knowledge, and if you search for this answer and you go and find a logical reply for this, then surely you come in the field of student of knowledge, and you come in the field of da'i. So in such situation, but natural, if you know the reply, and if you know how convincingly you can reply to such question, then you should answer. And I've given the reply to this question earlier in many of my question answer sessions, after many of my lectures, that when someone asks you the question that who created Allah, your reply should be Allah is uncreated. The definition of Allah is that Allah is uncreated. The moment you say who created Allah, he says it should be Allah, because the definition of Allah is uncreated. And I give an example that you can ask the question to your friend who's asked you this question, who created Allah. Ask him that my friend by the name of John, he was admitted into a hospital and he gave birth to a child. Can you guess whether the child was a girl or a boy? And if your friend is intelligent, he will realize that a man cannot give birth to a child. So a man who cannot give birth to a child, to ask the question that he gave birth to a child, can you guess it was a girl or a boy, is an illogical question. Because by definition, a man cannot give birth to a child. Similarly, by definition of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah is uncreated. So if you're asking the question, who created Allah, who created God, that means you don't know the definition of Allah. Because you don't know the definition of Allah, in your ignorance you're asking this question. So that doesn't mean that the person is intelligent. It means the person who's asking you the question is ignorant. So you have to point out his ignorance by posing him a counter question, and then he realizes that his question is illogical. Because the definition of Allah, one of the definitions is he's uncreated. So you can, if the person doesn't realize it and says, oh, you don't know the answer, you have lost, you pose him a counter question like the way I did. That a friend of mine, who is a man admitted to hospital, he gave birth to a child. Was the child a girl or a boy? And he'll realize that he is dumbfounded, he cannot reply. So sometimes you have to ask a similar type of question to the person who's trying to trap you, so that you can undo the trap and trap him. In martial arts, normally, when someone comes and punches you, take a side step and use his force to throw him over. This is what you also do in Dawah, and I've given the examples in various of my question answer session. Hope this answers the question.